Hey everybody, I decided to just have a little bit of a sneak peek at what we all need to be focusing on. That nearly fell out of the deck. All need to be focusing on at the moment, and that did fall out of the deck. So we'll talk about what they mean in a moment. So one of the things that there's a lot of collective angst at the moment, a lot of fear at the moment. And the cards that are falling out are all about stability, growth, opportunity, and guidance and mentoring. Go figure. So I really just wanted to pull some cards for the energy of now. This is not a futuristic thing per se. It's what do we need to know? What do we need as a collective to be focusing on? I do feel this is a worldwide thing, but I particularly want to put my intention for Australia, let's say. So, yeah, let's have a look, see, shall we? So, card number one, in the recent past, we have all felt like a victim. We have felt like a victim of our circumstances. We may be struggling financially as a result of the current circumstances, so. Just even if you know nothing about tarot or intuition and you just have a look at this card, you can see the energy of it, where essentially we feel that we are victims of circumstance, which I feel is affecting us on a multi level. It is emotional, it is physical for many as well, because we manifest our emotional pain physically. And also, it is physical because it's affecting our finances and our physical world that we live in. So, that's the energy of what's just recently sort of where we're at. This is a card for now. I do take into consideration reversals, by the way, and I do not use necessarily traditional meanings of cards. It's just intuitively what I get when I look at them. So for me, I'm just going to turn it around so you can see it at the moment. For me, the Page of Cups is essentially, this is spirit-led ideas, yeah, or a message from spirit. Now, when we have this card coming this way, I've got to say, folks, we are cut off. We are not in connection with our own intuition. We are not listening to ourself and our higher self and to source or God, the creator. We are not in tune with that. So I kind of want to say to you, your higher self and spirit is trying to talk to you, but we aren't listening. Now, if we look at this as a collective, reading, which it is, think about it this way. Everything that's happening on the macro, everything that is happening externally in our world right now is an indication of where we are within ourselves and as a species, as a collective. We aren't listening. We aren't listening to our higher power. We aren't listening to our higher selves. It's the reason we're in the mess that we're in. We're so busy focused on material things, on the external world. We're not going within. And when we don't go within, we don't hear the messages. That's why I've been really sort of advocating and pushing meditation to people, not only to keep your sanity and your sense of calm and peace to ground and keep yourself centered during these really difficult times, but so that you can actually hear the messages that spirit is giving you. I'm also feeling with this card, there is an overwhelm of emotion. People are overwhelmed. I'm literally seeing a tidal wave, right? So people are just completely overwhelmed. I'm being told to pick another card for this deck. And when we're overwhelmed, we lose our ability to be practical. We lose our ability to be able to manifest what we need to in our world. This is also part of the reason we're overwhelmed, is we're in fear of lack, particularly financially for a lot of people. We're in fear. And what I want to say about that is what Spirit is telling me, it's not what I want to say, is that trust that you will have your basic needs provided for, but also put things into action. You know, the old saying, God helps those who help themselves. You need to be a little bit prepared. You need to understand that while you will be looked after to a point, you also need to look after yourself. So we cannot be reliant on our governments to look after us. We cannot be reliant on anybody to look after us. What we can do is pray, stay centered, continually be in connection with our hearts and with Spirit, and really acknowledge that we are part of a whole and not see ourselves as separate from that whole, so that we can shift this, where we can come out of fear and where we can provide for ourselves, but also know that the universe will help us to do that. So this is not just to sit back and wait for the universe to sort it out for us. This is that I'm going to be proactive, but at the same time, I'm going to flow into trust. We can't flow into trust when we're blocked. We can't. It's not possible. And I ought to know, because I've been there often enough. Yeah. So this is for me too, guys. This is like all of us. This is natural. None of us are above this. We all go into despair. We all go into fear. We all go get angry. We all go into victim, you know. So it's just acknowledging that, yeah, this happens, and how do I get myself back on track? How do I shift this? So, you know, in the near future, what do we need to know? You know, there's going to be financial instability, people. There's going, so this way is, you know, a bit frugal, but we're not. This way is financial instability. So knowing that financial instability is coming, what can we do about this? Well, what we can do about this is shift our mindset. The biggest issue that we all have right now is swords are all about the mind, okay? I want you to look at this picture. Funnily enough, when I first looked at a tarot deck, I hated this card the most. This was the card that bothered me more than the death card, the devil. There's a few on there I didn't, you know, had a, and one of the things I did was meditate with all the cards, particularly the ones I didn't like, to get a different perspective. And when I went in and I meditated with this card, she came to life and she said to me, I'm not trapped. I'm not trapped at all. I just think I am. And you can see she can't see clearly, or he, as the case may be, cannot see clearly. If they could, they'd realize they're not trapped at all. They can walk forward. They can go back. There's a whole village behind them where they can get help. So when this card comes this way for me, it's very much about, you know, once we release our own thought patterns, once we release those feelings of entrapment, that's when we're going to see a way forward. So we've got financial instability, we've got feelings of being trapped. But if we can actually acknowledge those feelings and realize that sometimes there's another way that we can't see yet. Sometimes there's, you know, things are not going to plan. Things are not how we saw them. And we limit ourselves by going, oh no, panic, things aren't the way I envisioned. You know, I had this life plan, retirement, paying off a mortgage, yada, yada. And so we're freaking out. We need to come to an understanding. You need to cut through that. This is a double-edged sword though, people, right? While these ideas that we have with the Page of Swords, we can cut through this way of thinking and empower ourselves. You can see that this is a more empowering card, but at the same time, sometimes we have to let something go to do that. So it may be that the idea of our dream home or the idea of stability that we had before, there are ideas that need to be severed here in order to move forward. So what we thought we knew, you know, I'm hearing it really needs to come down to be open, really work on heart chakra stuff, surrender, and being open. Because when we do that, when we're open, we're going to be able to see things differently. There are people, when I get this way, this is we're being taken advantage of and we know it. Okay, it's like, okay, we saw it coming. It's not a great shock. When it's this way, it is you've been blindsided. You didn't see it coming. Okay, so now don't forget this is for the collective. So some of you may have known, like myself, for a little while that it was coming, but the majority of us as a collective, we did not see this coming. And we are being rorted, we are being taken advantage of with direct theft, if you like, of our liberties, of our freedoms, of our money, whatever you want to call it. But spirit, even as I said it was never yours to begin with, in terms of the money anyway, right? So we need to start thinking about what sovereignty actually means and redefining. This is all about redefinition, I'm being told. So redefining what this means for us, okay? When I get this card, it's all about cutting through, but these are external circumstances that are beyond your control, okay? So one of the hardest things for most of us, we have trauma. Most of us have childhood trauma, and I use the word trauma in a way that I guess most people would consider loosely, because what I mean is the majority of us have wounding where we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, we don't feel validated. We might have had amazing parents who loved us, but they were not able to love us and do everything for us in the way that we needed to be completely whole and self-loving humans. That's just human nature, yeah? So, we pass on wounding to each other. And this really directly shows that while everything is out of our control, we as human beings, we want to control everything. We don't like it when we don't know the future, when we don't. It's the whole reason, tarot readings are so popular, right? But I've never been that kind of a tarot reader anyway. That for all of my clients who see me, they will know it's very much about empowering you to do what is in alignment with your soul. And as a collective, you're being shown, we are being shown, I'm being shown, you're being shown that this certain aspects of our external world are out of our control, being taken advantage of, out of our control. So, okay, what do we do with this? It might make us feel depressed. It might make us become ill if we're manifesting it physically. We might need some time out and some solitude to regather our thoughts. But don't forget the cards that fell out of the deck, the Ace of Wands and the Four of Wands. They're all about a stability, celebration, anew. You cannot start a new world without burning down the old one. And it's going to be freaking painful. It is traumatic to destroy an old life and create a new one. Anyone who's ever been divorced will tell you that. Anybody who's ever grieved for someone who's died will tell you that. Life is never the same again. You are never the same person coming out of it as you were before it. I want you guys to really think about honoring yourself. Honor the grief that you feel. I was living in a happy bubble. It's been destroyed now. I don't know how to get past this. I'm in grief because my hopes and dreams are different now, or I may never get them back. But you can have different hopes and dreams. That's not to say that joy is gone forever, but you must be prepared to grieve the old way before you can move on to a new one. And right now we're very much, the words I actually got, clearly not mine, in betwixt worlds, right? Anxiety. This is where we all are right now. We're in deep anxiety and fear. And it might sound like an oversimplification to say that the devil often represents self-imposed bondage. I want you to take a look at the chains around their necks. Yeah? They could take them off anytime they please. They could take them off. So really, it's self-imposed, but it might not feel like it. So anyone who's ever suffered with anxiety can tell you that anxiety does not feel like we're in control, but There are techniques, there are things we can do. We can learn to manage our anxiety about the not knowing. So what we're being encouraged to do now is to let go of some old ideas where we feel trapped. Recognize that we can start new, we can start again, but only if we're willing to let go of old ways of thinking. Acknowledge that while we have been taken advantage of and that certain things are beyond our control, okay, and it might make us feel unwell or depressed, it is predominantly through our own anxiety of not being able to control events. But where are we headed? I ask Spirit to help me wrap this up. We're not there yet, but we are headed for a new world. We are headed for the completion of a cycle, the end of a cycle, and the beginning of a new one. So, what it's going to take for all of us is to really turn inward now. A lot of prayer, a lot of meditation. I am hearing that some action is required, but that action needs to come from a place of centeredness, not hysteria and fear. Okay, I'm going to give you a visual that they're giving me just to show you that there's two different types of protests, for example. There's the protesting on the street where we're screaming and yelling and saying speeches and whatever. There's also the protests where we silently sit, even if it was 6 feet apart, the 1.5 meters, where we do not say a word and we just sit in the middle of the road holding up a sign, staying in our center, right? There's different kinds of energy. I want you to just feel with me for a minute. I'm serious here, guys. Seriously feel into this. Imagine protesting in a way where you're just sitting, feeling secure, safe, centered, and knowing that God's got your back, and you're just sitting there feeling that energy without saying a word. And then I want you to feel the energy of the other type of protest. And tell me which one's more powerful. We cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. If you change nothing, nothing will change. So the change starts within. We need to get our own shit together first. And that's really hard in this energy. Believe you me, I'm struggling too. We all struggle with it. So going within. The Queen of Cups for me, you know, she's so intuitive. She's really just centering within herself. She is aware of her ripple effect on the entire world and her own emotions, being the queen of her own emotions, being the one to govern herself. This is really important, where we don't let the world sway us. And this is for men too, by the way. Okay, you have a feminine aspect too. That's your intuitive, receptive side. She's important in you, very much so. Okay, so I'm not just speaking to women here. And just on a final note, what else do we all need to know? We're not there yet, but this is even the more powerful version of what I just pulled out before, the Empress, yeah? This is where we're feeling blocked. We're not manifesting our reality. The Empress is the mother. She is creating. And I am also being told that our mother is crying, despite the fact that I know the powers that shouldn't be or won't be. I'm going to start calling them the powers that won't be, because I want to put that out there into the universe. The powers that won't be are certainly manipulating climate, are certainly manipulating things, and they're going to use climate as an excuse to suppress us further. But that does not mean that there are not certain things within our environment and how we honor the earth that need to change. So I'm also being told that we have become so out of touch with our connection to the earth, with our beloved Mother Earth, that we are not. This is part of the reason for our uncenteredness. This is why we can be hijacked. We're sitting there on screens all day. We're not connected to the land. That connection to the land is what grounds you so that you can be more in touch with your spirit. So it's a really imperative part of what we're doing here. We cannot manifest the new world. We cannot create and birth a new world until we are in connection with ourself, with spirit, and with the land that we are living on. I so love you, beautifuls. Thank you for watching. Mwah. Have a great day. Bye.